IVM.
He is a full-time father. He chooses to be one with complete pride. He feeds his daughter, cleans the mess, plays with her, and hugs her tight. He handles her tantrums, teaches her manners, and smashes patriarchy with this decision. He has shattered stereotypes, made heads turn. Some look at him in confusion and others with sheer admiration. He is setting an example, a unique one, that fathers can be full-time caretakers for their children too. Joining us today is a full-time father, Govardhan, fondly known as Raghu. Hi Raghu, how are you doing?
I'm fine, Almas. How about you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining me today on Beyond Cliche. For the listeners who just joined in, welcome to Beyond Cliche. This is your host in Dostal, and we usually get guests on this show that have broken gender stereotypes. I'm an author, speaker, coach, change maker, and I also have a campaign where I'm asking a leading diaper company to include the father's picture on the diaper cover. And this is, predominantly to change the narrative that fathers can equally take parenting roles, can have equal participation in parenting. And today I have someone who can be like the perfect ambassador for this campaign. By the way, before, we talk to this guest, let me just share the link of my campaign with you. It is www.change.org/PapaPampers2. So in this studio today, in this virtual studio, I actually have a papa, a father that is literally pampering his daughter 24/7 with this unique decision that he's taken. So I have with me Raghu. His name is actually Govardhan, but people fondly call him Raghu, and we're going to address him as that. And I'll tell you why I'm so excited to have this episode today. You usually when you look at the parental narrative around you, you only see a lot of forceful, and I would like to call it forceful depiction of only women taking on the chores of parenting. You look at the way advertising portrays everything around you, and it is usually women doing all the stuff. And there are a lot of fathers, that are sort of breaking the stereotype. But a full-time father, I am not too sure if we have many. So I have with me Raghu, and there's a great conversation coming up right after this short break.
How many times have you motivated yourself to improve your sleep or lose weight or be more productive? How many times have you failed? Hi, my name is Ashton Doctor. Tune into my show, The Habit Coach Podcast, where we focus on creating small, tiny habits to improve your life instead of those big, impossible tasks. So make listening to me a habit every Monday, Wednesday and Friday on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com or on your favorite podcasting app.
Hello and welcome back to Beyond Cliche. In today's episode, we're going to talk to a full-time father. Yes, you heard me right. We have a full-time father in the studio with us who's going to share his journey of smashing stereotypes and literally moving beyond cliche. So hi Raghu, welcome to the show. How are you doing and how's COVID treating you?
I'm feeling very well, and COVID so far has been treating me well too. It's been keeping its distance from me, and hopefully, thankfully, and I wish the same for everyone. And it's nice being here with you.
Yeah, same here. So Raghu, I have to confess something. I was actually looking for a full-time father for this episode. And I can literally tell you that I Googled. And in India, it is so difficult to find a full-time father. I mean, really, it is that difficult. Have you met some full-time fathers yourself?
To tell you the truth, no. But I've heard of at least one person who's a friend of my wife partner. I think he's in Bengaluru, and he's a journalist.
So Raghu, I know that yours is a very interesting story where you decided that you're going to quit your job and you're going to be at home with your daughter full time.
Yes.
Can you tell me what was that moment when you decided this is what I want to do? And I think it's been 4 years, right, since you've been with your daughter?
4 years completed. So we decided to bring up a child, and we went through it. We looked for options. I think one of the obvious things people started thinking about is, how are we going to do it? And we were living in North India. I mean, we are currently living in Delhi, Greater Noida to be specific. So we are living far away from our respective families. So this was a situation. This was, it comes up with its own challenges if you decide to bring up a child. The moment comes when you start thinking about who is going to, to be at home, because there is no possibility of my mother or, my father, or even on Nandini's side, anyone to come here. I mean, traditionally, this is what happens, right, in families. Correct. So I'm not saying that should be done, and that's what we should expect from families. But, traditionally, it's what happens mostly, even in Western countries. So very quickly, we realized that one of us had to quit the job, and we quickly thought about who will be able to get back to workplace. I mean, to get back to a job. We compared where we were, and we compared our industries, and Nandini was quite well placed at that point of time. And
Nandini is your wife, right?
Nandini is my wife, yes.
Right.
Nandini is my wife, and she was quite well placed at that point of time with Change.org. I thought, and I was pretty confident that I could get back to the industry of translation, in which I was working at that point of time.
So this is an interesting point. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm kind of trying to understand, wasn't it like the obvious choice, jaise har family mein hota hai, that it's the mother that is going to go on maternity and, she's going to be at home. But the fact that there is a couple that is even having this conversation, I think it is just so progressive in nature that you're having this dialogue that there could be a possibility of either of us doing this. I mean, to me, it sounds like it's a very progressive conversation.
I can pretty much relate to that. We have all had cousin sisters, even sisters, even mothers. Okay, if you look at the history of mothers, they have all quit their studies, they have all quit their jobs, to get married and then to make children, since that is the pattern. But here, like I said, it was not exactly a conscious decision to take the beaten path. That was not the main point. The main issue was, okay, so we want to bring a kid. So what do we do about that? And then even Nandini was quite open to, to quit her job. So because the question was, okay, so where I am, where are you? Okay, so
whatever is the most practical decision at that point in time.
Exactly. So what was the most practical decision? So we looked at it. And fine. So, she was getting into a very society-oriented profile, okay, at Change.org. And, I'm into what is called ITES. I was managing a team of a translation team in a French IT company. So we decided. I can't say more because there was no. Yes,
right.
I can't add more because this is what happened, right? This is exactly what happened. And
every story doesn't always have to be complicated, and that is the beauty of two people that are aligned, thinking along the same lines, and that's when decisions are just so simple, right? It's not just too complicated when you look at things from a certain lens. So, Raghu, what I want to sort of understand is, when you took that decision, what was happening to you internally and also around you? Like, what were some reactions that you felt within and outside?
It's a very important decision, right? It's a very important decision.
Very important,
and because you need to be very careful about, what happens later. I mean, let's face it. I think Indian industry as such, is much more used to women taking a break and then getting back to jobs. Right. So they can understand a person, not that, they can understand a woman getting back to her profession, to whatever she was doing. Of course, negotiations go on and whatever. There are a lot of things happen, conditions apply. But still, this is a profile of someone who gets back to a job after a break due to a child. It's a woman.
Right. It's common. It's heard of.
Yes, it's heard of. We did think about that. So would that be practical, first of all, from the industry point of view? How do you say, I took a break, I took a sabbatical. We rehearsed a bit. What would you say to the interviewer at some point of time if you decide to get back to a job? So, I took a break and but what were you doing all these years? I was taking care of a kid. Okay, so what would be the reaction and all those things? So, There was one major difficulty that we thought of. Are we ready simply to tell professionals, okay, that who would be ready to work with me? Listen, I took a break because we have a kid, and I decided to bring her up, okay, and to be a 24/7 father. So I think that was pretty clear in my mind, because Nandini likes kids, I like kids. And we still have, our own idea of how to bring, how not to bring, and we have our own disagreements, thankfully short-lasted. So yeah, we do have it, but yeah, I think fundamentally we are also confident that we can bring our kid, open the world to her, all the possibilities, open, the nature and how to, behave with people, how to meet people, how to travel, and all those things. So in my mind, yeah, I was very clear. So there was not much, turmoil.
For you, the whole internal turmoil wasn't too much. But what was the situation outside?
It was more. No, there was no turmoil inside. Like I said, there was some hesitation, and so there was some thinking that we put into when what would happen when I would get back. Externally, I'll tell you, we are very clear. We told our families. So this is what we are going and we're going to do. Very close friends of ours, asked us to be careful, nevertheless. Okay, because we were, again, as I said, we were living far away from our families, from our respective family. To take care of the cultural aspects, because the child might end up only speaking Hindi, and and we might struggle later on with Tamil, which is my mother language, and Malayalam, which is one of the languages Nandini masters. So, all these important things people think about. And thankfully, yeah, Maya speaks now, Hindi as well as Tamil, as well as Malayalam, as well as English. So far, so good. So we do expect that she would take all these 4 languages, with all the cultural aspects, in the linguistic and cultural aspects as she grows up. And we are pretty confident about that. So, like I said, to get back what you asked, yeah, people were, trying to, very close friends of ours, asked us to be a bit careful about practical things, but no one was, shocked, or they might have had some reservations though, in the sense that, yeah, we do have open-minded friends. They kept a tab on us, how it was doing initially, for perhaps 1 year, how is it going? How are you doing? How does it feel to be, to attend to a kid and all those things?
So how did it feel, Raghu? Did you fathom that it is going to be this much work? And we spoke about this offline, that when girls and boys, little girls and boys are raised, they're also exposed to toys, in a similar fashion. So normally the dolls, the nurturing, all of that is given to the girl. And girls are conditioned since childhood to take care of kids in the future. Now, you're a man here, and I don't know how much were you conditioned to do this kind of work. And obviously, parenting doesn't come with a manual, it's a difficult job. So how was your first year? How was the job of being a full-time father?
I think this is a very important question. This is a very important question because, we as men, we are not given the manual. It's rather, the women who are given the manual because they are going to carry the baby at some point of time and then, give birth and then, all the maternal duties and responsibilities that go with the kid. So yes, I didn't have any manual, but we were very clear about not enforcing stereotypes, because if we were ready about, bringing a kid, it was not exactly without any thinking. We did have some, between us some do's and don'ts. And one of those things were not to enforce stereotypes. Okay, whether through toys or some other behavior. But first let me tell you that, initially when Maya came to us, and it was a huge responsibility. It was a huge responsibility, this little being full of energy, full of desiderata and with her own mind also already. Right. And it was a huge responsibility, a bit scary. Yes, a bit scary.
What did you struggle the most with?
What did I struggle the most with? Sometimes, she would cry and I wouldn't really understand why she would be crying. Okay, because sometimes I could understand that she was crying for hunger. Okay, so you can understand, and I would just go and prepare the milk mixture with all those things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, sometimes yes, she would come up with a frequency of crying, if I can put it like that. Sometimes yes. Right. So that was the most scariest part because I wouldn't really quite get at it. But otherwise, Maya has been very playful, cheerful, and very curious about what was going on around her. She would look at the pigeon, or sometimes she wouldn't be facing the window, and even if she would be hearing the pigeon, turning her head, and she was very curious. So pretty easy in that way.
I'm taking you. I'm taking you down the memory lane. So the last 4 years, I'm sure there's been quite a responsibility and a great journey for you. So what did you enjoy the most, Raghu, in this time that you spent with your child?
I've enjoyed every moment of it. Giving her baths, taking showers with her as she grew up, making her discover, various kinds of food. Okay. So, so we were very wary of that. Both of us, Nandini and I, we were very wary of that, whether she would end up, refusing this kind of food, that kind of food, which would be a pity, because both of us are very open-minded about food, about, going places and, eating original homemade food wherever we go. Yeah, so we kind of, pushed her to, even when she was only on milk, we would just show her, the food we would be eating, and we would be saying, this is not for you for now. You have to grow up. And and finally, she ended up, liking almost everything, we eat. So that is one big thing that I really enjoyed. Yeah, the food, the connect with food. Because it's very important. That is life. The food is life, and a very important relationship is needed for a kid. There shouldn't be any barriers of all those things.
So has this improved your cooking skills? Were you a good cook earlier? What's your cooking situation?
I think my victims, those who were victims of my cooking, should be asked this question. So I would ensure, I'd ensure that it is cooked. I don't know whether it tasted well and all those things. Trying, definitely. I would try, I have never tried this much of new recipes, of browsing up, looking so many YouTube videos.
Wow.
I'm sure I wouldn't have done it if Maya were not there.
I'm just trying to imagine, you spending 4 years with Maya, and you being the primary caretaker, as I would like to say it, who's kind of taking her around when your partner is at work. You're probably the primary caretaker. Now, when you went out, you're doing some of these things. Maybe it's a vaccination to the doctor if you had to regularly, or to the park as a ritual. Did you have anyone giving you any shocking comments or looks, or what was the reaction of people around you if they knew that you were a full-time father?
It's still very funny. It's a funny experience so far. I don't have any, unpleasant memory related to that. Though, when I used to take Maya to the society's park. Okay, so we have a park inside. So I was among the few fathers. I was not the only one, but I was very, it was very easily noticeable that, I was among the few fathers who would be bringing kids. The questions came from the women, actually. The questions came from the women. So once, okay, but twice, okay, let's take it. But
every
curious,
day?
Okay. But every day. Every day. And sometimes, I would take her in the morning and in the evening, though it was not a routine. Every time this guy, comes with the, so the first questions came. So are you at home? Do you work from home? Initially I said, yes, I work from home. And then I said, no, I'm not even working. I've taken a sabbatical. So most of the women were pleasantly surprised. Most of the women were very, very pleasantly surprised that, some of them even said, oh goodness, how much I would have, I'd have liked that, that situation for me as well, because I would have continued that. So apart from that, yes, no, I've had very pleasant memories. Initially, women were pleasantly surprised, but as time went on, more questions on, how you are meeting up your expenses. Are you really working? Are you not even into part-time work jobs? So,
it's just so difficult to accept, Raghu, that a man can take a sabbatical. Yes. Why are men not allowed to take a sabbatical? I'm sure one of the most frequently asked questions when we introduce each other, when we introduce ourselves to someone new, when it's a man, आजकल तो खैर औरतों को भी पूछा जाता है, but for a man, it is just so typical to ask, तुम करते क्या हो? What do you do?
that comes very quickly in the conversation, right? So yeah, hi, I'm Raghu. I'm a translator. Hi, I'm a manager. So that's different than hi, how are you? Get a point, right?
So what do you say when someone asks you, Raghu, hi, I'm so and so, and what do you say? What's your introduction normally?
Well, it mostly happens that we are in family. So we pay visit or either people come here. So, hi, I'm Raghu. That's it.
Yeah, okay, why do we need to have a designation attached to us? It's just so stupid, right? Our identity is not related to the work we do.
But yeah, I won't say it is unfortunate, but it is a fact. It is a given that today it is very difficult for people to accept that a man can just resign his job. Let's face it, that is the word. Has resigned from his job. He is not working. Okay. And between us, he doesn't intend to go back to work very soon. Okay. Because, yeah, as I said, we are two of us. I think my presence is needed for Maya for various reasons. And we do have discussions with Nandini on this. Things might evolve later on. But yeah, I think it is surprising for both men and women. And as time goes on, like I said, initially, women were, pleasantly surprised. Oh, yeah, goodness, we've taken a sabbatical. Oh, goodness, that's great. That's a very courageous decision. All that. Yeah, but then now, more often, the question is, you will be getting back to your work, right?
Yeah, like how long? When are you going back to work?
Yeah, so when are you going to get back to your work? So I just tell them, yes, perhaps, as soon as the occasion, comes across, I might be doing something. It's difficult. And I'm not really interested in explaining. I think explanations is not needed. Any explanation is not needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, it's a decision that the two of you have taken as a family, and it's absolutely fine. What we are trying to understand, Raghu, over here on this show is why is there so much of a stigma around this? They're two parents, and it's absolutely normal for any of them to take that decision of who stays home. But there's just so much stigma attached to this whole thing. That is why probably a lot of fathers, even if they want to take a sabbatical, somewhere is this whole social pressure that probably doesn't allow them.
Yes, I remember at some point of time, just as an anecdote, there was one father who would be bringing her small kid. So initially he would be, leaving the kid to play. And that kid was a bit older than Maya. So she was a bit more autonomous. So she would be running here and there on her own and, playing. And he would be, on his phone. But then at one day, our looks crossed. I mean, we looked at each other and he was looking at me and I was playing with Maya, who was still a baby. So I was making a walk. I was making her going over the, parallel bars and all those things. Yeah, she was very eager to do this. He started to do the same thing. And, a sort of a camaraderie, installed, came in between both of us. And he would come very regularly later on. And then another man joined in. Okay. Right. So what you say is absolutely true. There is a stigma. There's definitely a stigma, It's not that, it is inside, because it's not that men do not think about it. It's just that there is no space, not making them guilty or not making them making them feel weird or all these things that happen usually. Once you show them, it's okay, you're there for the kid. You're not there for the society, because society is not going to cater to your kid. Okay, so that is the main point for me. If she falls down, probably a few persons are going to, to attend to her, but it's not going to be always so. And in all circumstances. And at the end of the day, we are there, and we need to know why we are there. So that's something very clear in me. And like I tell you, I can think of these two guys. We would just meet at the same time at in the society park, and no, we wouldn't be looking at our phones. We wouldn't be looking at our phones. We would be playing with our kid. I mean, the third person had a boy. So yeah, we were just having our moment.
Lovely. That's so progressive. And I wish we've created more spaces for men to really be, the emotional parent that they need to be, the connecting parent that they need to be, even in public spaces. I think somewhere men have a tendency to hold themselves back, or probably they're just too occupied with a lot of other priorities. It's how it seems.
Yes.
So the male is predominantly known to be the provider, and provider meaning providing money. And if that angle is missing, then there is a big question mark. And that is actually the stigma. And it's kind of funny, isn't it? Because what's that got to do with your identity? If you're a parent and you've taken that decision, it's absolutely fine. I think the second problem is that we sort of understand that a man cannot have the same nurturing qualities, caring qualities as a woman. Now, you can tell me, Raghu, kya aisa hai? माँ होती है ये हमने सुना है, and I'm a mom, but I want to know from you,
yes.
You being at home taking care of a daughter full time, do you see yourself giving the same kind of nurturing and caring as other mothers would, or your mother did to you?
That's a difficult question. And I think it has to be nuanced a bit because, like I said, we wanted to avoid the stereotypes. So we got her, toys that were not dolls initially. I got her balls of all sizes and inflatable, not inflatable, and all those things. And we wanted to, we want to avoid at all costs, that Maya should not be, Maya's favorite color should not be pink. But okay. In spite of all our efforts, her favorite color is pink. I don't know where she got it. We didn't do that, but we didn't do that.
That's okay, Raghu, right? As long as it's her,
yes, it's okay.
She's
okay,
choosing it and it's not forced upon her. That's absolutely fine.
Exactly. I wanted to come up with this example to make a point. And to make a point while answering to your question, because you asked, so caring to a kid, I think there is no problem in it. Okay, for a man. There's no problem for a man to take care of a kid. You need to be tuned to the kid. Yes, you're taking a kid outside. You're taking, yes, you need to know why. Because you're not going there alone. Okay, say you're going on a small drive. We've gone on so many drives with Maya, even in rain, right? Even in rain times. So I've taken her, I've just sat her in the car and, shown her the rains, shown her the wipers, water wiper, windscreen wipers, just to show her, the beauty of the rain and all those things. That's what I'm saying. So you need to know that you are not going there alone. You are doing that specific thing with the kid, and the kid has to have its share of being there. Okay, so I'm avoiding, the share of knowledge, of the share of enjoyment or excitement. It can also be a moment of disappointment for the kid. Okay, yeah, I thought it was, rain would be nice, but within the car it is stuffy. The AC was not working one day, so she didn't really like it, the second time or the third time. But it's okay. But the main point is that you need to be tuned to the kid who is also living that moment with you. And the kid is not living the same moment the way you are living, right? And so that is the main thing. If that mindset sets in, I think it is very simple.
Yeah, but what
because
about...
you are going to be there because your place, just to finish that sentence, you are, as a man, if you have that mindset that you are going to think about the kid, whenever you go, wherever you are with the kid, okay, so you are automatically going to think about what the kid needs. Not only, physically, not only about the food, because food time is, if you look at it, food time, the actual time that you spend in food is not that much, right?
There's a lot more that a child requires.
Yes, exactly. So you need to tune them to if you don't show the butterfly, the kid might not be seeing the butterfly, right? If you don't evoke purposefully, do you remember the butterfly we saw the other day on that flower? Okay, what color was it? Okay, so you are the one. Okay, you are the one who needs to build all this. Not that the child is not doing it. I'm sure the child is doing, because they don't have all the they have not learned so many things like us. So they are totally fresh minds. Fresh impressionable minds. So a lot is going on in their minds. The idea is to make the connect, to build memories, not only, to pass the moment, to just spend time, to make memories together. It becomes very important and interesting. And that's where you understand, it's not only about caring. And that's where I would like to have even discussions with some women. It's not only about, feeding and having given birth physically. You get the point?
Yeah.
So of course, it's a huge part. It's a huge part. That is even the process of creation, right? So the process of birth. But once the kid is born, it's another individual. It's another individual. And we have all seen so many mothers not tuned to it. The image is there. The image, the stereotype, the social stereotype, it's all there. We've seen mothers, having a different mindset for various reasons, understandable reasons, some for some of them, and not so understandable for others. So, nevertheless, being tuned to a kid is what I learned on the fly. It's not only about feeding the kid.
Right. So what you're saying is you weren't really just taking care of the child. You were building memories with the child, like you said. You were actually creating a world of exposure for the child, tuning in with the child, sharing every moment with the child. And that's
exactly sounds, smells, birds, nature, even seasons. If you draw the attention of the kid, you are actually having a moment together. And thinking of that moment later on is part of your memories and also shows unconsciously to the kid the path that you have been walking. So this is how I see this.
So, this is such an interesting perspective. And by the way, Raghu, you at some point in time, if you do wish to take up a career, you do have, parents counseling as a serious profession. I think you've equipped yourself so beautifully well. Like
really?
Said, like you said, some mothers also find it difficult to tune in with their kids. And that's such an important component when you're spending time with the child.
Yes, for various reasons. Because, women are forced to bear kids. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know how it feels. An element of postpartum depression. You don't know what the woman is going through. There could be
that is increasingly spoken about. Yes.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to understand, Raghu, is there's this element that is so cliched, okay, or spoken about in a stereotypical manner, that a woman can manage 10,000 things at the same time. She's able to multitask more if she has a child. She is also more tolerant with a child's tantrums, and she is able to sort of be this super mom, and that's something that we've heard so often, being able to manage so many things around the house well. Now, how difficult was it for you when you were in the four walls of the house and, in whatever time you were spending in the house, managing a whole lot of things together, especially when she was small? Right from the feeding to the diaper to the bathing and all of those things. How was that for you?
I was, like I said, initially it was even a bit scary. Okay, because she was such a small kid and, taking care of this. But kids have a biological clock that is much better tuned than ours. So it's not difficult to understand. It's not difficult to regulate yourself. So that sets in very, very easily. But I would be lying, if I said that everything was fine, everything was fine and shine, and all the days were amazing. And yes, you do go through lots of moments of self-doubt. Am I doing things right? Or especially when the kid is crying for a reason you don't know. You check for bugs and all those things. But is that the temperature of the milk that you gave, or was there something in the milk? Or I would be lying if I was saying I was totally confident that okay, fine. There were some moments. Yes, there were some moments where you think, did I really make the good decision? But those are all momentary. Those doubts are necessary because, we are not machines, programmed, and those doubts are necessary. And again, listening to the kid, sort of puts you in the right path.
I have an interesting question here, Raghu. Does Maya recognize that she has a full-time father at home? Has she been able to comprehend this concept?
Yes, actually, I wanted to talk about this aspect, in one of your previous questions. When we were talking about stereotypes, right? For Maya, it's very clear. I am the cool dad. Okay, cool dad. You can play with him. You can say things. Of course, he refuses sometimes, but you can fight with him. Okay, you can do all kinds of things. But Amma is Amma. Okay. And at some point of time, I was even a bit, I wondered, where did I go wrong? Right? Where did I go wrong?
So what does Amma is Amma mean?
I think there's a very specific bond that Maya has with Nandini. Okay. And I'll tell you what, I think it comes from the fact that they are both women, because we have explained to her. Okay, we have explained to Maya the difference between men and women. Okay, okay. I'm sorry if I'm not including all the persons who can qualify to be a gender.
Right.
Okay, so for now, we're not entered into that topic, but we just told her the difference between, and it is mainly physiological. Okay, so I think it started like that. I'm not saying that is the only difference. It started like that, and the question that where do kids come from? You can't say that it comes from dad's tummies, right? You would be lying.
And eventually she's going to see it, right? Whether it is on TV or whether it's around her, she's going to see the fact.
Oh, yes, she saw. Oh, yes, she saw. And there are also stories, right? There are also stories where, the elephant has, the elephant's tummy is big. All of a sudden, she noticed. And then 1 week later, there was a small elephant, beside the big elephant. So, at one point of time, you need to. And this question comes very quickly, okay? Where do kids come from? Right. So, you tell, okay? So, mothers, from mother's tummy. Okay. So I'll be also carrying a kid at one point of time. That was the question that we were not ready.
Right.
That came as a surprise. Okay, so it came as a surprise to us, and I said it came to me. Okay, first I said, if you choose so. Okay, I recoiled quite fast, and I said, you can have a baby also if you choose so. So I don't know what she made of it. I just made a mental note of, keeping that in memory and, repeating that. But so much so that I think in Maya's mind, she and Nandini, okay, are part of the humanity that can carry babies. And it means so much for her. Okay. So whenever she sees a female dog, okay, she invariably says, look, her tummy is big. She's going to have pups very soon, which is not true. But she has to say that. Okay, so she has to say that. So she also knows how to tell apart, male dogs from female dogs. So it's been a component very, very early. So to answer your question, Amma is special. Amma is Amma.
Right.
Right. So that is that guy who can fix toys. Okay, I like fixed toy. I surprise myself that at my ability that I can fix, broken toys, so that she can play again with trucks, because I bought her trucks, jeeps, not Sten guns or machine guns. No, I've not gone to that extent because I don't believe in that. And even making small things with reed and cardboard and all those things. So cool guy. Okay, so
he teaches me a lot about butterflies and pigeons and rains.
Yes,
and drives.
Goes on drives. Yes, goes. Yes, and So Amma is Amma. So she eagerly waits. Before lockdown, she eagerly waited. Is Amma coming? Is she on the way? Okay, and Nandini would call, right? Would call, and I've reached this point, and she usually does. So she would call, and she would ask her, "Where have you reached?" and all those things. So it was eager waiting for her. Okay, so it was a special moment, and I'm glad that happened. I'm glad that happened because I don't want the same story that again, to get back to cliches. Not exactly cliche. Cliches show something, right? They reveal a sort of a reality. It's a reality that you might not like it, but I might not like it, but it is still there. So, all these boys and girls, more, closer to the mother rather than the father, if they wanted something, even if you want something, they boy or girl, they would go through the mother. To reach to get the decision, to get some money or
because
from the
it's
father.
Such a patriarchal setup in most families, right? The father may not have that much time, so the mother is available. She's the softer person around. You have to crack through her, get to the father who's the provider. It's just such a setup. But clearly, this family here has decided to break a lot of cliches, a lot of stereotypes. And what we see evolving is a very beautiful story, Raghu, I'm sure there are a lot of fathers or would-be fathers, to-be fathers, contemplating, what if I stayed at home with this child? I wish I had that opportunity. What would you like to tell them?
That's a very interesting question. That's a very interesting question because times are changing, right? Times are changing. Perhaps the changes are not happening at the pace we want and everywhere we want. But yeah, times are changing. People have access to more information on an individual basis. We don't watch TV collectively as a family. Okay, we can subscribe to the YouTube channel in our phone, and it doesn't have to be the same YouTube channel as my sisters or my brothers or my fathers and all those things. And times are changing, and I think this is a very important question, because in spite of all this information that we get, I think we still have to reach the stage where we come up with all those information and time and space where we can discuss freely, okay, and we can decide on what needs to be done for us, okay. And yes, your question is very important. And for those men who are in that stage, I think it's very simple. If you are already asking this question, it means that you have something in you, right? If you're not saying no, okay, that's not for me, because there are so many people. A friend of mine even wrote in one of my Facebook comments, buddy, I mean, this is something that I would never do, but and you have taken a decision and you're doing great. So that's very important. So if it's a clear-cut no, it's a clear-cut no. But if you're already in the thought process, it means that you are getting into it. And that's a very important sign that you shouldn't ignore, so that you don't get to the no, or get back to the no, and then, you shut the doors. Just delve on it. And, in our country, and I think it's also there in many countries, in our country mainly, the major hesitations we have is the social look. People, what people will think, what people will say, how will I be looked at? It is all there. We can't deny it. Okay. But first of all, it all depends on what you have, what you have in you, even before what your parents are going to think about your decision. And I'm not saying it doesn't count at all. I have been very lucky. I have been very lucky because I made it very clear with my own family. Okay, long time back, and we've been very, very autonomous in that aspect. Okay, we've been very, very autonomous. We've been very lucky, and I don't think I can say the same thing to everyone about everyone. Right? People have several constraints to take into account. Right? So I would say, even for those whose family would like to have a say, I think first of all, you need to be clear in your mind. You need to be clear in your mind. And the second thing is your partner in tune with what you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, it's a big decision for the partner. I'm sure if I have a chat with Nandini, she would have her own perspective of what all it entailed for her as well to take this decision. So obviously it is for both partners. Raghu, I have a final question before we sort of, wrap this conversation. You were managing a team of people, you were working, you had a job, and then this transition happened. Do you ever miss going back to work?
No. No.
And I think no explanation required really after this.
There is absolutely no. I can't even think of it because I'm having a wonderful time, and there is also a practical presence, right? I need to be here. Right. So, and especially in these times of lockdown, so she is not going to school. Okay, we need to be here, and I need to be here. Yes, definitely. I can't take work from home right now, and get into Zoom calls, professional Zoom calls, right? And then get into work. And no, I'm not seeing myself doing that for a while now. No.
Yeah, you seem to be also enjoying this entire space. The way you said no, that instant no itself told us that you're pretty much enjoying the space that you have right now with Maya. And it's just so inspiring to see what you're doing. हालांकि मुझे लगता है ये बहुत ही normal चीज है. You're a father who's decided to take care of the child, but for the society, it is a big deal. Like I said, when I started this conversation, that it was impossible for me to find a full-time father when I was looking for one. And there you are, you've done it, and you're like, okay, this is great. So, just as we sign off, Raghu, have you changed as a man in the last four years?
Oh, I've written a blog, right? I've written a blog about it, a short blog about it. I've named it A Teacher in Disguise. Okay, I used to be a teacher, but perhaps most of my friends, I think they thought about me, a teacher becoming a father. But actually, it is the child as a teacher. The child teaches you. The child teaches you. And that's why, if you're just there, if you're just watching and listening and just living, moving with the kid, it's going to be another dimension that you're going to add to your life. If I can just add one struggle, if you ask me, about one thing that one particular struggle, it's about public spaces. I've gone to malls. And even Maya used to love going to malls. And we are not going to malls anymore for the past 6 months. And washrooms in malls. Washrooms at airports. And washrooms in public spaces, in auditoriums, for example. So we've been there, and it's very weird. It never fails you, It never, because a woman taking a small boy, to the washroom is something, but a man taking a small girl to the washroom, to the men's washroom, is always surprising to other men.
And it might even raise eyebrows of people.
It always raises eyebrows. I've even seen men, coming saying that, what are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, you're not supposed to do this. So, I think it is very important. I think it is very important because, we are talking about, Swachh Bharat and all those things. I think this should be clubbed, definitely. We are also talking about the toys for the third gender. I think something needs to be done. And I'll tell you one thing, what happened at Delhi airport, at the Delhi airport. So, it happened the first time. So she wanted to go to the washroom, and I was very hesitant to take her to the men's washroom. So fortunately, at the airport, you have and not everywhere, unfortunately, you have a washroom for disabled persons.
Yeah.
And that helped me, actually. So, even though I got some comments from the cleaner from the janitor afterwards, I was not supposed to do that. And I asked that person, then what am I supposed to do? I can't take, I couldn't take her in the men's washroom, with the girl child. She said, yeah, but do something else, she said, and that was not her problem. So wherever, you have, I see disabled persons' washrooms, and that is very helpful. Malls are coming up with that. They also have a changing place for people, so men can also get into that. But otherwise, in most places, it's it doesn't leave you indifferent. That's what I can say in a very neutral way. It's very important for the kid because for all obvious reasons.
You've highlighted something so critical. In fact, this is kind of related to my campaign. So there were a group of men abroad in some part of the Western world that sort of raised their voice and said that we need to have diaper changing rooms or diaper changing tables in men's washroom as well. What if we are carrying the child by ourselves? Where do we do this?
Is that so?
Yes, and they sort of asked the leading diaper company to sponsor that and ensure that there are diaper changing tables. I think that this whole narrative needs to change, and that's where the petition that I have also comes in. We need to have a narrative that goes out which says that fathers are also caretakers of their children, and things like these, whether it is changing diapers, taking children to the washroom, it could be the responsibility of any parent that is available at that point in time and ready to do it, right? So it's been a great conversation, Raghu. I've had a great time talking to you about this. So many perspectives around parenting. And I think as a parent, I'm taking back a few things, especially what you said, that it is not about taking care of the child. It is about tuning in and building memories. I wish a whole lot of memories for Maya, you and your partner, and collectively you've set a great example as a family. So thank you for joining us, Raghu. Thank you for this conversation.
Thanks for this invitation and this wonderful opportunity. I had a very pleasant moment.
Yeah, I'm sure it's taken you down the memory lane. And we hope that your examples and your inspiration would reach a lot of people out there that want to break stereotypes and move beyond cliche. This is Almaz, your host and host on Beyond Cliche. And please do not forget to sign the petition. It is www.change.org/PapaPampers2. We've had a wonderful conversation with a full-time father on this episode. In the next episode, we're going to bring in another guest that has shattered a stereotype. Please do leave your comments, your thoughts on what did you think about this episode. And if you want to reach out to me, I'm pretty much everywhere on social media. You can find me on Instagram at almazvirani _1111. I'm on Twitter at almazvirani11. You can also find me on Facebook. And do tune in to this podcast, Beyond Cliche, on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you listen to podcasts. Till then, stay safe, take care, and I shall see you again on Beyond Cliche next Thursday. Bye-bye. Ta-da.
I hope you enjoyed that show. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Intel. It's been a great week on the network this week. If you haven't been paying attention, please do listen to some of the shows. We had Chetan Bhagat. This was the first returning guest on Cyrus Says. Do check that out. Great episode. We had Palak Zatakia on Advertising is Dead. Really interesting conversation was had with Varun. We had another crossover on the habit codes. Zarina Poonawala showed up over there to have a discussion with Ashton about anxiety and pressure. Begin the Journey with Ashir Vidyarthi continues to kill it. Please definitely do check it out. An old friend, Vijay Koshi, was on Storytellers and Storysellers. Do check that out as well. And I'd like to mention one thing. If you're a Tamil speaker, you should definitely check out our podcast, Kadai Podcast Punyan Selvan. Kavita Jiva has done a fantastic job to finish up her first story. It is the last episode which just came out last Monday. Do check it out if you speak Tamil. It is an incredible achievement. Please do check that out. And with that, hope to see you again next week.
Did I just catch you on your way to work? Or did you end up pulling an all-nighter? Let me guess. You have a packed schedule for the day, the week, and probably the month and the year. That's a lot for your mind to handle, don't you think? This buzzing chaos also brings tons of negative thoughts. Am I right? Try spinning that bottle in a positive direction with me, Chetna, on the Positively Unlimited podcast, every Monday on IBM Podcasts. It's time to change your life one alphabet at a time.